Hello and welcome to the second post-Brexit show, coming at you live from a world where everyone is held responsible for their actions and regret is very, very real. Joining me today is Sam Yates. Hi.
Holy shit, are we going political now?
We're going full fucking political. By the way, which episode is this?
It's 59, I think. Might be 60. We'll fix it in post.
Right. So it's just the two of us today. So let's just talk about what we have been playing.
Yeah.
And it has been another fantastic week for video games. Let's talk about them. Sam, what have you been playing this week?
Hey, let's see. I'm going to start with the one Shell Shock Live. I played bunch of that. It's a tank game. It's like Scorched Earth from a long time ago and a little bit like Worms from not that long ago, but one of those move around, shoot stuff at angles kind of games.
Right.
And it's cool. It's a big throwback game with just a ton of progression layers on top of it. All the weapons level up. There's a whole tech tree for your tank. Just one of those very fun little simplistic games with a very, very intense progression layer laid on top of it and so many weapons that it's almost ridiculous.
So does that mean, because of the volume of weapons at your disposal, does it mean that the game can feel really, really grindy after a while? Because I can sort of see how that can become annoying because you're never done progressing.
Yeah, if it was something I planned to play just that and only that and to get everything in, it would be an absolute nightmare. I agree with you. Because when you level up and you get a new weapon, that screen is just an ocean of squares. And most of them are gray. You know, to get new weapons, there's probably 100 or more at least. And they all show up on one screen. And the one you get pops out and turns color and then kind of settles back into the background. The animation's really cool.
Right.
But, you know, weapon variety is what those games kind of live or die on, which is why so many of them are just racing to have as many as possible.
Right. Does that game have multiplayer?
Yeah, definitely does.
Yeah. Is it as robust as the weapon variety is?
I would say so. There's about 6 different game types. There's a whole just ranking system and all that stuff. I don't think it's something I want to play seriously, but I do like having a good tank game in my arsenal to just play whenever I feel like it. Mm-hmm. And doing the same old tricks that still work, like whipping out a ruler to be able to measure your shots is very much a throwback and very much fun.
It sounds fun. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see, the weapons, like I say, man, it really is all about the weapons. There's some in there that are very, very cool. And I wanted to give you a specific example, but honestly, my head is just like a mess of all these different things. I haven't even found a favorite to be able to plug it.
You'd be forgiven for forgetting it anyway due to the amount of guns in that game.
Yeah, it's a blast, man. I like their single player stuff too. There's like a ton of missions in there to just jump on. Until there's a new Worms coming out at some point. I think it's called WD maybe?
Yeah, something like that, like WMD.
Yeah, but
something along those lines.
Until that, this is probably my tank game of choice for the conceivable future.
Right, but like Worms, right? That's a franchise that has been around for a very, very long time, and I'm just impressed that they're still around, even though they haven't really tinkered as much with the formula, save from the 3D era, which was very hit or miss.
Oh, dude, Worms 3D was terrible. But you don't need to, I don't think. There's something that's really a lot of fun about that power and distance estimation thing.
Yeah.
That's not extremely prevalent in video games where you can kind of get good at it and you're playing by feel almost as much as anything else. Except in this game, because it tells you numbers for angle and power unless you turn that off. So, like I said, you whip out a ruler and you're pretty much 100% accurate. But yeah, there's something to be said. That's also in a lot of golf games too, sort of have that same type of play by feel, estimate power and distance and that kind of stuff. Feels good when you get it right, like it really does.
Yeah, it's elegant simplicity essentially.
And what I like, and something that more games should have, is there's no microtransactions, but there is a premium currency. So it's all earnable by playing games, and you can't actually buy it even if you wanted to. It's called gears. It's like these things you buy special upgrades with and stuff like that. So the goal is just, to progress in another way, earn them over time.
Right.
You can play matches and wager those against other people.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. I like that a lot. I think that's a really nice touch. But yeah, as far as tank games go, man, I got it in the Steam sale for like $3. Like, what a value.
Oh, nice.
No complaints at all. Let's see.
Right.
Yeah, what else? Played more Dying Light. I played about a few hours of that, like enough to get a sense of the game now, and I think that game's pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm really interested to hearing your thoughts after a couple of hours of playtime. So what do you think of the free run mechanics and stuff?
That is the part that I probably like the least, I guess. I'm not a fan of the how do I get up here type of gameplay or figure out how to climb this thing. But all the other stuff I like a lot. I like the fact that the zombies are really tough or infected or whatever they call them. Can't remember. And even like a one-on-one confrontation, I have to think about it before I just charge in there. And it's almost like a coin flip when I just want to fight one dude just to get him away from this truck.
Yeah, I like that game's sense of like dread, because you know that the moment you step out onto street level, you could be walking into a trap.
Yeah, and you can't watch all the angles. Like, I just want to fight one dude, but like 3 people are going to come up behind me, and I just can't keep track of it all. It's awesome. It's very cool. And there's so many times where you just want to rush in and like grab the objective or the quest marker or whatever, and there's 4 guys there. You're like, I should be able to just run right by there, no problem. And then you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that game manages to use paranoia exceptionally well, because you always feel out of place and in danger when you're on street level, and then some of these fucking zombies, they know how to climb and run at you, let alone the night, which are terrifying. Have you done the night stuff?
Yeah, the night stuff is bad news, man. I had a mission that I guess it could only be done at night, and I ended up just going there during the daytime and then patiently waiting for it to be night so I could pull the switch, because I was not going to try and run up there and run in there in the middle of the nighttime. But that double EXP gain is a really nice sort of carrot to hang in front of you and make you want to at least try to go out at night.
Enough for me.
But man, when I get killed, I'm losing like 2,000 survivor EXP or something like that. I'm never going to go up on the survivor tree.
Yeah, it is quite tough.
I did bump it up I bumped it up to hard when I started playing it, just because I wanted to really get the survival aspect of the game. So I don't know how much of a disparity there is between the regular playthrough and what I'm playing, but I like the way this feels. This feels good, and it is tough. And very engaging.
Nights are too terrifying for me, man. That's the night stuff. And there was a mission where I had to go out at night. I just had to go out at night, and that is the point where I stopped playing the game, because I'm not into horror at all, and it's too tense at night, man.
You can't see anything, man. The parts of that are dark are very, very dark.
Yeah. And you can't really get away from those super zombies that walk around at night, because they can jump on the tallest building with you.
Yeah, it's very tough. Man, I do like it thematically a whole bunch. And the story seems interesting. All the characters are kind of cool.
Yeah. It does that rather well. They started doing that in Dead Island, which already had like that story with several interesting characters. Nothing to write home about really, but interesting enough to propel the story forward. And I think they definitely improved on that formula in Dying Light.
Yeah, everybody's kind of crazy in a different way. Everybody's got their own particular brand of dealing with crisis.
Yeah, exactly. And, the moments that you do go out into the city and explore, that really does feel like an adventure, because you never know what you are going to find.
It's very cool. And I've gotten some upgrades, like I'm moving along in the trees, and even at this point, I still don't have that like first bit of traction where you start getting like over the game, where you start gaining more and more power and you start just steamrolling. Even now, I'm still struggling, and it feels so good. It's awesome.
Yeah,
and if
only DayZ could do the same.
Yeah, the environmental stuff I think is really good too. How there's traps lying around and the little the big spiky walls and stuff like that. and you end up just stacking like 12 zombies on them at a time, and you can't even see the metal thing anymore. It's just a pile of corpses.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good game, that.
Yeah, it's a blast.
All right.
Yeah, those two, and then if you want to talk about some competitive Overwatch.
Oh, God, yes.
Because that came out.
I really do. Yeah, it did. Enrique's right about the whole toxicity thing. The community has devolved into, well, shouting matches mostly.
It's gotten rough out there. That's true.
Yeah. I'm sort of worried about that as well now. I still just mute and report if people are being, extremely toxic. But still, what I found is that a lot of the time when people start to infight, they usually just stand in spawn so they don't get killed while they just cuss at other people on their team.
Yeah.
And people leave matches the moment your team does not win instantly. And that's a problem.
Leavers are definitely bad news.
Yeah, it makes me think like the penalty that you get for leaving a match early is just not severe enough.
That's a hard one to dial in. I agree with you that it's not severe enough. At least from what I hear, people are leaving lots and not getting... I guess they get a cooldown, but they're not doing that stuff that they were talking about, banning people for the whole season and that kind of stuff. Or maybe they are, but those people haven't been shaken all the way out yet, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know. It just something doesn't really feel right about that penalty, because if you're on a team and people leave because you're losing, you don't have. If you want to remain on that team, you don't have an opportunity to maybe turn the tide. So you're basically fucked. And if you lose, it's going to be recorded as a loss anyway. So the moment somebody leaves, your chances are vastly diminished.
And even if you can fight back on that 5 versus 6 and manage to pull it out, you're still going to get the reduced EXP from having a leaver on your team, or having a leaver in general in the game.
Yeah, exactly. You get penalized for something you have no control over whatsoever.
And then the people on the other team are like, well, you know what? Forget you guys. You're not getting EXP from this. And then they leave. And you're like, man, come on, dude.
Yeah, it's lame. I've been on the winning team several times where people on the other team have just left. Like 3 or 4 of them have just left. And then all the fun gets sucked out of the match because an easy victory isn't much of a victory at all.
No, definitely not. Especially when you're playing against 2 people, or if you're playing against 1 person and there's 3 minutes left on the clock. All right. This is going to be the worst 3 minutes of my life. I guess let's do this.
Yeah, it's just a waste of everyone's time on both teams. Blizzard really needs to sort that one out to make sure that doesn't happen as much.
Yeah, I think that with the penalties in place, that'll start to get better over time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this stuff in general is going to get better over time. I think that people you have to let the system work, and that takes time.
Yeah, and the system needs to be tuned a little bit more, I think. One thing that I noticed, and I want to sort of compare notes on that, is the way you rank and derank. Because a loss can set you back a whole rank sometimes, whereas a win can move you up the ladder like 1/10 of a rank.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem fair.
Here's the thing. It is fair, but the problem is that you're looking at a progress bar, and when you give anybody less of a length of a bar, it sucks. Like we want filled up bars because we're all video gamers. But no, I don't think that is it. Not for me, at least. But sorry, finish your story. Well, yeah. So I do, and I mean, like, I understand the frustration there. I think that that's got a lot to do with it. But if you think about the way that it works, like statistically, and you lose, so you go down. But when you're trying to come back up, you're trying to come back up into a space that is filled with more people. So there's not as much give on that side as there is on the back side. At least right now, where they placed everybody, and generally speaking, the vast majority of people got put in the middle. So there's space on both ends. There's space on the high end and the very high end, and space on the low end, and kind of a bottleneck in the middle until people play more games and all this stuff shakes itself out. So when you lose, there's a lot of space down there. You drop a lot. When you want to come back, well, that place is still very full up with people, so it's difficult to push back in.
Huh.
That's what I think, at least like statistically speaking, without getting into, the normal curve and all that kind of boring math stuff. I mean, I am an economist. I trust statistics. I think that there is somebody at Blizzard who understands the way that stuff should work. It just takes time for everything to shake itself out. But it is frustrating. Like, I get it. What they have with the matchmaking is not... I don't think it's a mathematics problem. I don't think it's a points problem. I think it's a perception problem. Like, the way they face that to the players, I think, is where all the problems with the matchmaking come in. Like, it's a presentational issue more than it is anything to do with the numbers or how they compare skills or anything like that. I mean, how many times have you seen an engineer think they have a great solution to something, but then you put it in front of the user and it sucks?
Yeah.
I think it's just, that's exactly it. Like, some guy probably made this beautiful calculation, like they checks all the right statistics and it looks awesome. He felt so good about it, and then he put it out there and people were like, this is bullshit, man.
Well, it just seems to be a discrepancy between points lost and your performance in the game itself. Because sometimes I had this the other day, actually. I was performing really badly, right? But we still won the match, and I got a pretty decent chunk of that progress bar. And then a different game, I was doing awesome, like gold in most categories, and the rest of my team was doing really good as well. And we won that in like record time. And then I got just a tiny little bit of progress on that bar. It's just weird to see that, because you can't directly correlate your performance with your gain in rank, which is annoying.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, obviously what I'd like to see is complete transparency about that system. Yeah. Not only because I find it fascinating, but just because maybe that's the way that you help people come to terms with it.
Yeah, because now nobody really understands why they're going up or down most of the time.
But the other problem with matchmaking systems is once you make that completely transparent and once people understand how it works, then maybe is there a way for them to leverage their way in a way that's not conducive to the gameplay experience. Maybe there's, they start maximizing certain things that maybe should stay hidden. I know that's why in general, almost every matchmaking system is not, completely transparent. But like, it's a perception thing. And I really feel like it's linked to the bar in a big way. I think that, cause you get the big crescendo and the giant music and then your EXP bar goes, whoop.
Yeah.
Wah wah, right? That is the problem. It's a user facing problem. I don't know how they solve it. I'm definitely not smart enough to have that solution, but I think that's got a lot to do with it, man. It feels bad, right? I agree with you. It feels bad to lose and drop an entire rank and win and get a sliver. That feels terrible.
Yeah, it feels bad because you derank and you don't really know why or why you're deranking that much. That is the problem I have with that. But, as you say, they'll probably shake this out at some point in a not too distant future. But yeah, communicate better why the system is doing what it does. And that should alleviate a lot of people's concerns. Yeah. It would certainly alleviate mine.
It's been like, what, a week, How and you're trying to, like, maybe it works. It just takes time to spin up. You need people to settle out of 50. You need people to settle out and sort of groove off into the side corners, and you need the pros to go all the way up to the 90s, and you need the bad people to go all the way down to the 10s. I think it just takes time. I think in another 2 weeks or so, maybe when we're halfway through the season, you're going to see a lot less complaints about the matchmaking system. Yeah,
but that is too much time, though, isn't it? I mean, every season takes, 2 months? If 3 weeks of that are spent to stabilize the system, that doesn't seem ideal.
Yeah, that's a good point. Another thing I was thinking about, it's kind of unrelated, but similar in a way, is that the game's been out for a month. So
5 or 6 weeks now.
I'm going to try to think how to put this thought together. So you've already progressed all the way through the process of getting better to a plateau of the game, or at least you have a general sense of what your skill level is now because you've been able to play it enough. So if there's, a difference between how good you think you are and the number that you get. You've played it enough to be confident in what you think your ability is. And if that's different from the number, then that's not great either. And that doesn't, that's not a good way to phrase it. But what I'm saying is there's no confusion. Like if competitive came out at the same time as the game came out and you were getting better along with the same time that your number was changing, I don't think you would feel as much of a disconnect there. Because you'd still be learning, you'd still be playing, you'd be like, okay, there's a lot of stuff I can do to get better at this game, so maybe 47 is about right for me because there's a lot of areas I can improve in. Once you start to get stable, or stagnant has negative connotations, but let's say stagnant with your perception of your skill, then that creates a bad thing too, because you think it's more difficult to accept that you are the number you are when you feel like you've plateaued at your skill gain level.
Yeah, that's also because you play every game with 5 unknown quantities as well. And so your own skill doesn't directly correlate with your skill rating as well.
Also true. And that's been a problem with every team game since the dawn of time. And that's a bummer. And and especially with this where they hide the other stuff, it's very easy to just assume that it was your team. You know, hey, I got gold medals. Everybody gets at least 1 gold medal, right? Or maybe you get 2 or 3 and you're like, okay, I can't be the problem. You might, you might still be, you know, it's not entirely implausible. It depends a lot on what those gold medals are in and their impact on the overall game. And it is easy it's almost like a mental trap to kind of push that onto your teammates.
Well, the only really qualifying medal is objective time, really. Like people, and I am included in that. Sometimes they will wear that healing done gold medal as a badge of honor, or kills as a badge of honor, or something like that. Whereas in reality, that's not really showing how well you've performed. Objective time does, but the rest sort of doesn't. And then you get. I don't know. I'm just sort of frustrated with the way everything's presented to me now, and I'm just sort of annoyed by the volume of really, really angry people that I'm matched with.
Yeah. Well, some of that stuff's difficult to see, right? Like if you're like, man, dude, that Reaper wasn't on the point the entire game, but yet he caught their Mercy every single time on her way back from the spawn.
Yeah.
Right? Like let's say that's all he did, so he only got 11 or 12 kills. And he was never on the objective. He got no medals, but you won the game because he stopped their healer from getting to the objective. Well, that's a pretty significant contribution that isn't tracked in any way that you would see, that you would feel the impact of. You were just like, man, that guy was just off running around the whole time. What the heck?
Yeah, you're right. God.
Yeah, so it's difficult, and it's easy to do. It's easy to say it's not me, it's them. There's 5 other people here. What are the odds it's me? Right?
Well, yeah, of course, because the narrative you have of yourself does not allow you to see yourself as the problem here.
Yeah, and it's real bad when I play with my friends because we'll be 4 of us and 2 randos, and they're like, "Man, these guys are terrible." I'm like, "There's 2 of them, there's 4 of us. Where do you think the problem is, man?" Just take a wild stab at that. I bet it's us.
Yeah. You fail as a team, not as individuals, really. So if there's one weak link in that team,
I do see that, man. If I get in the solo queue, I'm like 90% loss rate. If I get one of my friends with me, it comes down to 75. When I get 6 people with me, we're winning more than we're losing. And it really is, I think so much of it is eliminating the randomness, getting people in there, playing with your friends. It's more fun anyway. And if it helps you win too, I feel like that's what you got to do. It's all about randomness mitigation. Especially now where the difference between like a 50 and a 51 can be an ocean of skill level.
Yeah.
It's just not, it just takes time, I think. And right now the difference is huge, man.
Yeah, it is. Well, give it a couple more months, see what they do to improve the system or improve the way they communicate the system to us.
I think in general, though, like that's the way to play that game, though. I love the way that mode plays out.
How do you mean exactly?
The you go, then they go.
Oh, right. Yeah. Although the coin toss seems to be something people don't like in the case the game ends up in a sudden death.
Yeah, that's true. You got to do something at that point, though.
Yeah, well,
I'm not entirely
I think
opposed to it.
I think Blizzard already said that they are working on something to replace the coin toss because they recognize that it's not ideal.
Yeah.
But until then,
It just doesn't. If you get it down to the fact that the coin toss doesn't happen all that often, and it doesn't to me. I think I've maybe had it happen 2 or 3 times, maybe.
yeah, it doesn't happen all the time.
The problem is
The fact that it does happen.
well, yeah, when it does happen, it's normally in those situations where it's been the closest game ever, and the game has felt so tense up until that point, and then to feel like it's settled by a 50-50 and who's on attack, that sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Because the entire match up to that point has been a level playing field with your team attacking and then defending and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And then in the end, you get one match where one team might be at a disadvantage or an advantage depending on which side they started on. So yeah, it's not ideal.
But that's the way to play, man. That is the way to play. The mode itself is so much better than quick play.
It is tense as fuck, yeah, and I do like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Overwatch. Are we done talking about that for this week?
I think so. I think it's a good case study in like matchmaking systems, if nothing else.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see that stuff start to shake itself out.
Definitely. I wonder what Blizzard is going to come up with in the coming months because they are actively developing the competitive mode as we speak. So yeah. Have you played anything else this week?
No, that's it. That's all for me.
All right. I got a new graphics card, the AMD Radeon RX 480, 8GB.
Nifty.
Yeah, it is. It's actually a really good card for a very low price point. I think it's $170 to $190 in the US, and I paid 275 euros for it.
That's cheap.
Which is still, yeah, it's still, when you compare it to the euro, it's still pretty cheap over here. And I'm impressed, man. Overwatch is a completely different game on ultra setting.
I believe it.
I love it. I've been using it for mostly that game, but I've also used it in more graphically intensive games like GTA 5, which looks amazing on ultra settings at 60 frames per second, 1080p. I've been playing a couple of racing games as well. Need for Speed, not Most Wanted, but what was the other one called? I've got it here somewhere. Oh, it's an Origin, isn't it? It's not Most Wanted, the new one, but it's the one that came after that. Rivals, Need for Speed Rivals. I play a bit of that. That also looks really great and chugs along really well on that card, which is something that I wasn't able to do previously.
Dude, I love new graphics card day. It's the most wonderful time.
Yeah, and I've never really bought a graphics card on launch day, and I've never really eagerly anticipated the arrival of said card at my house. So I was happy when I came home and found out that they delivered it to my neighbor's house, so I can just grab it and instantly install it and have fun with it. And now I can finally play HD games on 60 frames per second with very little problems.
Welcome.
So that's awesome.
Welcome aboard.
It's expensive stuff, man, like PC parts and stuff. Because the price I paid for that graphics card is like half my PlayStation 4. So
Worth
it is
it.
expensive.
You should have bought 2.
The thing's really large, though. It seems to take up 2 different slots on my CPU.
Yeah, they get big. That's true.
Yeah.
But
so
man, dude,
it's so nice. Crossfire.
It's so nice. You just have to think of it as an investment in yourself. You're worth it.
Yeah, I'm going to have fun with this thing for quite some time to come because it plays a lot of the newer games rather well. I can't put everything on ultra with a lot of those games. Like shadows and stuff have to be medium, but texture quality up to ultra and lighting up to ultra, that's good enough for me. For now. But yeah, video games have not really been playing all that much apart from, Need for Speed and Overwatch again. So, let's just go over to the news. But before we do that, I want to quickly touch upon that I know about the gambling situation with Counter-Strike Global Offensive. And I want to talk about that whole issue at some point, but I need to read up more on it because I've not read enough to say something with any sort of authority on it now. So we're going to skip that story this week. Maybe do it next week. All right. Let's get cracking. I think it's time to revisit the subject of VR. We have the Oculus Rift, which is now sort of out there in the wild. Hasn't got a big installed user base, but it's out there. The Vive is also out there after some problems during the launch, and it seems like all hopes are now on the PlayStation VR kit to knock it out of the park. And one other one, which is the Star VR, which is a VR kit by Starbreeze, and they've just secured $9 million from Acer. Acer, the big hardware company, has invested $9 million into the Star VR kit. And I just want to look at VR in a sort of a macro view, because if you look at the launch of the Rift and the Vive, it's not really been all that successful, and it seems like VR is not really doing what people expected it to do. So, yeah. I don't know. Like we were very optimistic when we first started out this podcast, right? In the halcyon days of the past, we were very optimistic about VR. But now that it's out there, I'm not as excited as I was.
Yeah, I think that these steps have to take place. You have to start doing it to get better at doing it.
Right, but
so I don't think a little stumble here is any kind of issue or anything unexpected. I mean, it's still really expensive and, not available to everybody exactly, and the games are still working their way up and in. I'm not convinced that this is necessarily a bad sign. I think it's just a progress thing. I think you got to give it some time, get the tech better, just move in that direction.
But the pricing of the tech is a big problem, because they are between like $400 and $1,500 or something, and that is way too high for most people. And most people don't have dedicated space for like room VR in their houses either. So even if you do have the money, you might not have the space for this. And I hear people complaining about image quality not being all that great on either headset either. So
it's definitely not the world-shattering giant game changer that we thought it would be.
Yeah.
But it's fine to change the game a little bit at a time too. You get the next revision of these headsets, and you get the next revision, and they get cheaper, they get better. I think it's good that nobody is dismayed enough to stop. I think that that's the most important part.
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know. I feel really hesitant when I think about VR now. Whereas a year ago, I was convinced that I was just going to be an early adopter. But now I just don't know if it will have any application to me in the future, because the games that have come out for the available headsets, most of the time they're just experiences and not games. Even the ones made by Valve, they're just experiences, really short ones that you play one or twice and then never look at again.
Yeah, that's how all that stuff starts out, though. I mean, mini games are always the first.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of advances and moves from there. I'm with you, though. I'm definitely not on board with buying one just yet as much as I thought I would be. I was ready to just pick up a Vive on release, and now I'm just like, well, there's probably other stuff I want more than that. It kind of slid down the wish list a little bit.
Yeah, it misses a system seller, like a great exclusive that really hits home what exactly VR could be and should be. And we don't really have that now. We have cool experiences, but other than that, nothing that gives the entire platform legs.
But obviously that's going to happen. I mean, people wouldn't be still sinking money into it if they thought that they slipped up.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I mean, there's still optimism around, definitely, but it seems to be more cautious now than just balls to the walls enthusiasm.
Yes, I agree with you 100% on that. We've definitely taken the tone back a few notches.
Yeah, and that's because the early adopters got burned for being early adopters. And because of the connectedness of the internet now, people sort of know what's up with these kits. And a lot of people are sort of holding off on getting one now. And that causes the installed user base to stay very, very small.
I hope that it hangs on enough. I hope that VR is not the next curved TV.
Yeah, because the promise of VR is amazing, right? I mean, this could be an incredible thing, like the next big step in gaming, and it hasn't really nailed it yet. Which
not yet.
Yeah, but that's a pretty big downside with the whole marketing push behind the first wave of VR, and then a lot of people find out that they're not as good as they've been led to believe, and it has damaged people's perception of the platform.
It's still cool.
It is.
But it's not $800 cool.
Yeah.
And that's the crux of the problem, I think.
Yeah, exactly. VR. Please be good. Please be good. I really hope PlayStation VR comes out and there's No Man's Sky support for that thing, like, on day one. I think that would sell it to me. But the other platforms, Oculus Rift, Vive, I can take it or leave it at this point in time. Want to do another story?
Sure.
Here's another one. Umbrella Corps is down to under 100 players per hour on Steam.
All right.
Fucking A.
Hooray.
That has to be terrible. At one point in time, not all that long ago, when something even remotely associated with Resident Evil came out, people were going mad over it, right? Now Umbrella Corps comes out, nobody wants to play it. How the mighty have fallen.
I didn't even know that game came out. So, yeah, I guess there's that.
Yeah, it's not good. Let me just pull up the article here. This is from...
I think the last Resident Evil I really got into was 5.
4 for me, I think. Like, there's a graph on this website that shows that when a game releases, it had a buttload of players, and then the day after that, boom, nobody.
Oh, that's how you know you made a bad one.
82% drop off. 82%. It's
That's pretty bad.
Yep, it's on the verge of dropping out from the top 1,000 games on Steam, with just 74 players currently online.
How much does that cost?
I don't know, man. I think it's probably at the point now where the servers cost way more to maintain.
Oh, it's $30. Oh. No thanks.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Resident Evil is doing really
bad.
weird stuff anyway, because they did that first-person demo thing at E3, which looked a lot like PT, but less fun or something. Like, people tell me. I haven't played it. So it seems like people are now taking a leaf out of PT's book, and Resident Evil is now trying to ape a franchise that used to ape Resident Evil. Interesting times.
Yeah, it's time to just drop everything and put it all into 7 and make 7 awesome.
Yeah, they need to hit this one out of the park, or else I don't think the franchise will ever be able to get back from a blow as big as Umbrella Corps.
Yeah, still interesting. I mean, I still have a fondness for Resident Evil, but not in the way that I'm instantly going to pick up any of them.
Yeah, I do hope for the people that do want to get that stuff on day one. I hope that 7 is the best for you. One last story before we have to go. It's been a pretty light week for the most part, outside of the CS:GO gambling story thing, but we'll get to that later. The last one is Sony coming out officially saying that the PlayStation Neo and the PlayStation 4 Slim will be the last step in this generation for the PlayStation 4. So there's not going to be a new iteration of that platform after the Slim, which is a slimmer version of the PlayStation 4, and the Neo, which is a more powerful version of the PlayStation 4. When those come out, that is the end of that generation for PlayStation.
That's interesting. I know a lot of people were talking about the fact that they were going to move to a more like a yearly hardware revision or something like that, where they were just constantly updating the same model.
Yeah, it's like the Apple approach to hardware design, I think.
Which I guess they still might. They still have room to do that, don't they? If they say this is the PlayStation 4 Neo, and then, a year and a half later, this is the 5.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then a year and a half later, there's still plenty of room for them to go into an iterative hardware model. So I'm not sure exactly. I don't know. I mean, this news basically tells you that this is going to be the end of the PlayStation 4 name. But as far as information about the pacing of their hardware, that doesn't really tell you too much, I guess.
Yeah, just that it's the end of the PlayStation 4 generation, which would imply there's going to be a PlayStation 5 not far off. And does that seem like a good idea to you, to have a sort of midway stop in a generation? Because people who buy into the PlayStation 4 in like the second wave, will they have the money or interest in buying the PlayStation 5 like a year and a half later? Because it is a pretty big investment every time you buy a new console.
Right, yeah, exactly. I'm not sure. I don't know. That will be interesting to see. I mean, it used to be years and years between console releases. Maybe they're going to just shrink that a little bit with something halfway. It could be cool.
Could be, but it's not all that consumer friendly because you're basically asking twice the amount of money from people in like half the amount of time.
Yeah, but we're talking about years here. It's not a big deal. It's not months. It's not next month. Okay, here's $400 more. It's 3 years later. How about $400 more? I think if you can't get $400 worth of value out of that thing in 2 or 3 years, I mean, what do you reasonably expect out of them? It's not that much money. It's not a big deal, right? I mean, yes, it sucks to have to spend more, but I mean, look at the pace that technology is changing now. And look at how long it takes to make video games. If it's able to make video games better and it's going to cost you a little bit more, but only over a 2 or 3 year period. Yeah. I mean, there's ways to make that work without going instantly, this is bullshit, stop it. You know, this system should last for 6 years.
Yeah.
That might not be possible anymore.
Yeah. That might be true, actually.
Just start banking $20 a month. And, like, you know, if it's a predictable release cycle where you know the next one's going to come out, you know you want it, you know you like video games. Does it suck? I guess. But is this also the new reality? I guess. So it could be worth it to you is what I'm saying. Like, don't be instantly dismissive of the idea.
Oh, I'm not instantly dismissive, but I can sort of understand why people would be like that. So playing the devil's advocate. But in the end, it does give people more of a choice, really. Like, do they care about a higher resolution and slightly better frame rate? Then you can go for the more expensive PlayStation Neo. And if you don't really care about that, you just want a game on 720 or 1080p on your normal TV, you can go for the normal one, right?
Yeah. And I think it only feels that way because this is when the change is happening. We're in the middle of the change tornado.
Yeah, and this is a completely new thing as well. This is uncharted territory, so nobody really knows how to react to it.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't pick up your pitchforks just yet, I guess is what I'm saying.
I do look forward to seeing what the Neo can actually do, even though we already sort of know what it's going to be capable of, but it's different from actually seeing the thing at work.
Very true. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Microsoft's going to do with their new version of the Xbox One, which they claim is the most powerful console ever.
Cool. That doesn't matter that much.
No, it's still, you know, a console. Most people have better computers in their offices than there are consoles out in the market right now. But who knows? Maybe they'll prove us wrong and give us something that is really, really good money for value. Because let's be honest here, the current generation of consoles are not really all that great money for value.
What if you just made a less powerful console that you could make games for faster and had the console with the funnest games? That's the metric. That's the metric I'm interested in.
Yeah, I know you're referring to Nintendo, aren't you?
A little bit, yeah. Just a touch.
What do you expect?
Just a tiny touch.
Just because I want to know what you expect from the NX.
Oh, dude, I wish I could expect anything out of that thing. I honestly have no idea.
Like, if you look at the older consoles, they're always a bit gimmicky, right? So we've had tablets for controllers now. We had Move controllers, or what are those things called? The Wii remote or something?
Oh, yeah. I would like to see a throwback to just a game console and a controller. No gimmicks. I think that would be the coolest thing that they could do.
Yeah, maybe.
I've never really been entirely entranced by the gimmicks that they do. I think the Wii Pad is kind of a bummer, or the Wii U gamepad is kind of a bummer, except for the gyroscopic aim and stuff like Splatoon. That's pretty cool, but they're not really taking advantage of it. And so, I mean, just actually go all the way back. Just release a console that you put carts in and a controller, and then just make good games. I mean, the thing is, they should theoretically, by having to develop on less powerful hardware, they should be able to add polish and add content and et cetera, et cetera. That's all very theoretical, but just make some awesome games in a good little box. That's all I'm really interested in. I don't need them to push the market forward or do anything groundbreaking or whatever, you know?
Well, one could argue that they've not really been doing anything groundbreaking since the Nintendo 64 and the GameCube, really. The
Wii was pretty big.
Yeah, I had a Wii, and I don't remember ever being impressed by the way it handles. But that's me, obviously. I'm not saying that it's a terrible console, because it obviously isn't. I'm just saying that the gimmicks don't really add all that much from my perspective.
I think that's a fair assessment, but it's just the fact that it was motion control before motion control.
Yeah.
It was like the first big release and iteration of motion control. Obviously, it's gone in 100 different directions since then, but at the time, it's kind of a nifty thing. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I just hope it's awesome.
It would be nice, because people always say, like, well, Nintendo's not really directly competing with any other console in the market right now. But for once, I would like to see them try to directly compete with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, just to see what they can do with a console that is as good, or in some cases better, than other consoles available on the market right now. I wanted to directly compete with those things for once, and not be in their own bubble.
I guess. I don't need any more like lukewarm, tepid AAA vanilla mass market titles. I don't need more of that. I'm good on those.
Maybe I just want another console to play Overwatch on.
Yeah, sure. Overwatch coming to the Nintendo NX. That's fine.
Yep, I think we've run through our list here, and we can go do other stuff. How about that? All right. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Once again, if you want to give us a like on Facebook, Twitter, or any other platform that you can imagine within 20 seconds, please do so. If you don't like us, let us know as well by sending us an email to selectcharacters@gmail.com, and we will see you next week. Thank you for listening again. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.